365. What? What's the date?
Today is the 45th.
Today is the 23rd.
Friday. It's a Friday?
It's a Friday.
It's Friday.
Alright, anyway, so how did the city rebel with the kit mean to promote the temperance movement? Now what is the temperance movement, Chris?
It's like, tempered chocolate and stuff?
No. Alright, what is the temperance movement? Anyone know from your reading?
It was the thing
Wait,
that.
raise your hand. Genesis, raise your hand first. Alright, Genesis, what's the temperance movement?
Isn't it like when they're having to deal with a lot of stuff?
No.
Not quite. Okay.
Wait, I don't know.
It
Your
was.
article against Ethan.
It was a thing that was against liquor.
Yeah, so if you're like so if
It's
you're
liqueur.
wait, so if you're
Liquor.
like okay, here focus in. So if you're an abolitionist, that means that you're against slavery. It's like the same idea. That temperance means that okay, you're against the sale of alcohol. So the temperance movement was against alcohol for it. Alright, so back to number 1. How did the city revivals and Kent mean to promote the temperance movement? Alright, Chris, now finish the go back to you.
The revivals help show the sin as well.
Yeah, so basically saying, hey, here's what the Bible says about liquor. This is what the Bible says, so we shouldn't do it. Alright?
Liqueur.
No, liquor.
Is that different?
It is slightly different, yeah. Liqueur has to do with like chocolate liqueur, has to do with like the syrupy stuff on the inside.
Oh, I thought it was just.
I thought it was the
No,
same.
it's a little bit different. Alright, no, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure it's pretty pronounced slightly different in that regard. Alright, number 2. Name the first state to outlaw the use of liquor. Alright.
Maine became the first state to outlaw liquor.
Good job. Number 3. What contribution did Dorothea L. Dix make to social reform? Genesis.
Treatment for the mentally ill.
Because she went to the insane asylum. Did you realize if you were considered mentally insane in this time period, life's really rough. They were really mean to them. Did you realize, just because they're mentally unstable doesn't mean you should be mean to them or use them for experiment, which is what a lot of them happen to. So, again, not all of them. But you realize, we shouldn't be doing this. We need to promote better health for them. Alright, number 4. Who founded the first settlement house in New York City? What was it called? And explain the purpose of its establishment and others like it. Quentin.
Phoebe Palmer founded the 5 Points Mission, which was first settlement house in New York, and to take care of the needs spiritually, physically.
And then also they also provided like Bible study groups and stuff as well. Like for example, what would be the example of a settlement house in Columbus, Georgia?
McDonald's?
Okay, that's more like like that's the way that people go okay. So you're thinking of the wrong McDonald's house for like St. Jude. Right, but like there is one in Columbus. You probably have all heard it. Anyone know what that was called?
What does it start with?
I believe it starts with B. Or I guess F technically. The Fort of Valley Mission House. Valley, yeah, so that one is in the area. That's an example of a settlement. It's okay, it is it's a helpful house. It's a charity house. Alright, number 6. Name 3 leaders of the women's rights movement. Who is the foremost issue of this movement? Alright,
I'm a woman, I want to answer.
I know, but it's
Yeah, we can
turn.
let
You're
that
a
go.
woman.
He's the only.
I'm a woman.
There have been 3. You gonna be appropriate? Alright, make your statement.
Sorry, I said it too, I'm sorry.
Alright, you didn't answer your question.
Boy.
Stanton, Mott, Anthony were all women's rights movement leaders.
Good job. So Elizabeth Stanton, Lucretia Mott, and Susan B. Anthony. So make a note for all those
On the
ladies
next
as
one,
well.
just like the middle part.
Wrong one.
Okay, we can go backwards. What false doctrine denied the Trinity of Christ? What false doctrine denied the deity of Christ, the Trinity, and the other important biblical doctrines?
Unitarianism.
Say it one more time.
Unitarianism.
Good job. Number 2. What were the 3 main doctrinal issues of false religion apart from biblical Christianity? Alright, Quentin.
False religion, specifically the denial of the Trinity and Scripture and taught works based on salvation.
Good job. Alright, number 3. Who created the philosophy of American transcendentalism? Alright, Genesis.
Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Good job. Number 4. Name the man who lived alone at Walden Pond for 2 years. This is not the Walden Pond apartments that are about 15 minutes away from here as a side note. This is an actual
Really?
place somewhere else. Yeah, there's a Walden Pond apartments near my house. Alright.
Is it named after that?
Probably. Yep.
Henry David lived alone for 2 years.
At Walden Pond. Alright, so his last name Henry David Thoreau though. So his last name is a little bit pronounced a little different.
Oh, I did write it then.
Alright, number 5. Name what utopian community near Boston was a direct result of the Transcendental movement? You got an answer, Chris. Not much you got.
The
Brick War, is that what it's, Brickway Farm, is that it?
Brook Farm.
Brook Farm was a result of transcendental.
Yeah, transcendental movement. Alright, number 6. Anyone want to answer it?
Me?
Alright, Ethan. Name the British utopian socialist who founded New Harmony.
Owen founded New Harmony.
Good job, Robert Owen. Alright, you can go ahead and put that away. Alright, I had a request for the treasure games. We can go ahead and play that one. Did I get out a piece of paper so you can write down treasure definitions?
You
don't know.
You don't know? No, treasure game with Miss Wars.
I hate the treasure.
I think Jamie did.
You're
I hate
welcome.
all my guts.
Too bad.
I can
Alright,
picture the music.
so we're going to do is just loop around so everyone gets a turn because some of you are not as fast with your palms as other people. No, if you don't know, it'll become a free-for-all for that question. So still pay attention as we're going through it. Alright, it is loading, so you gotta give it a minute.
So wait, we're not doing palm game?
No, we are. Well, like, we kind of half are, to where I'm gonna go around, if someone doesn't know, you have a chance to steal by palm. Alright, that's the end of the year because my mouse is dead, and I forgot to change the batteries. Or, like, the stick ones?
No, what I said.
You can't break it.
You were just thinking of charity house. Alright, so, who defended the principle of states' rights in Congress? Who defended the idea of principle of states' rights? We'll start, Ethan, just work our way around. Alright, Ethan.
Oh, let's start with
H. I've asked this for
Haynes?
days. Yes. Robert Haynes.
19!
Death. That was Patrick Henry. You hopefully recognize that
I
was
did.
talking about.
I
Yay.
did.
Yeah.
I got it all.
Alright, who defended the Union?
Daniel Webster,
Daniel Webster.
10.
Alright, let's see.
Long.
Which one? Let's see. What was the name for Jackson's vice president? That he was more for states' rights. Well, Jackson was for nationalism, so they split because of this.
What's that?
C.
Calhoun. I got the Calhoun question. Well,
Calhoun just did a lot. Calhoun does a whole bunch of stuff. Alright, what was the treaty where the Cherokee, the smaller group, said that they would move out of their territory?
Starts with an E, right?
Yep. Treaty of New.
Eritrea.
I'll take that. Good choice.
Eritrea. 27.
Alright, what was the name for the journey that they made?
Trail
12
Tears.
years.
We go with 15.
15. Alright, what was the bill that said the president has the authority to enforce revenue laws?
Let's just start with
F. F.
Force bill.
The what?
Force bill.
Okay, move your hand so I can hear you.
Force bill.
There you go.
7.
everybody.
Alright, was that 7? Alright, who was the president of the National Bank?
Bill,
Nicholas Bill.
35.
Was that 35?
Maybe it's like 10 or
I don't remember. Oh,
No.
Alright, who was the Secretary of the Treasury? His last name begins with a T.
Tawny.
Tawny. Roger Tawny.
We did?
11.
Secretary of Treasury.
And then Bill did what again?
President of the bank.
Alright, cool.
Alright, what was the party that formed as a result against Andrew Jackson?
Wait.
They were just the Whigs.
What was the question you just asked, Genesis? What was the answer?
Tawny.
Tawny.
Taney.
Who was Tawny?
Secretary, okay, Secretary of the Treasury, Roger Taney, Taney.
Roger?
Looks like Tanny.
Roger
Oh.
Shillingworth.
Alright,
What?
Frankie, what number do you want?
17.
Alright, so the unwise policies of Jackson caused an economic depression. So what was the year of the economic depression that Jackson caused?
1837.
Good job.
29.
Alright, what? I didn't think that. I was like, I'm pretty sure I didn't put it there, but okay.
I don't remember where you
Where's what? I actually don't. Because I mix them up from all the different classes, so I forget where is when, and then I'll just randomly save it at the end of the
They're all
day.
set, like they're not random.
Well, I save them from one class to another, so I'll move them in the class period, and then I'll forget where I saved it to at the end of the class. Alright, so, let's see, so since they were trying to get rid of the bank in this time period, what did Martin Van Buren, what system did he start doing instead of just like a banking system? It's something
Didn't I
system.
just answer?
It was
Ethan's turn.
It's
Ethan.
Ethan's turn.
And what was one?
What is the, I hope you can hear me, Jamie, I'm sorry, I'm going way over here. So, what is the banking system that Martin Van Buren came up with? Or that he convinced Congress to use, and it's not like a bank.
I.
It does.
Inspired theory.
It's something system.
Inspiration something.
Nope. Alright, first one to raise your hand and you have a chance to steal. Go. Alright.
What's the question?
No, I said it twice.
No,
Make
I'm sorry,
Alright, this is the only time. Make sure you gotta pay attention though, 'cause I don't have time to mention voice over and over again. Alright, what was the banking system, economic system that Martin Van Buren began Congress to do? Because they're gonna went to the bank. So it's something system starts with an I.
Interest something system?
No. Alright, Joseph?
Independent
Internet. No.
banking system.
Close but not quite.
Inflation,
Inflation.
segregation.
No.
Inspired.
I was closer.
Independent treasury system. Independent treasury system.
I already have that right now.
Right again, you didn't know.
Right again.
There. Alright, it's right here.
Alright, what means the right to vote, Quentin? I'll take either turn.
Suffrage.
Good job, the suffrage is the better one, but yeah, French went for suffrage.
8.
Long. Nope. Long.
Alright, where north, south, or west was suffrage first widely extended? Pick an area.
Oregon.
No, north, south, or
What are you
west.
talking about?
What about east?
East, like north is no ocean. We can't go in the ocean.
I mean, you could. Sailor.
Like for women's suffrage?
Not
No,
this,
for
but
men,
yeah,
because
we're just talking about suffrage in general.
Uh,
Women are coming, but
west.
not quite there.
Oh.
Yep, west.
The Cowboys, 22.
What a 33.3%.
2020. 20 is the one
let's
that.
see. Alright, what do you call it whenever you have a party that runs so smoothly that
I'm Joe
they use
Biden.
this term to describe it?
I'm Joe Biden.
Okay, remember she can hear you better than I can, so you don't want to distract her, you want her to be able to hear me. Starts with an M. So what do you call it whenever the party runs so smoothly? We use a term to describe a well-organized, smooth running party.
Machine.
Good job. It is
I was gonna say that.
What?
I was already gonna say that.
Yes.
Alright, pick your number. What was it?
18.
Alright, what system did Jackson introduce in national politics, saying, okay, I'm going to reward my people that helped me, and I'm going to fire basically people that were of the opposite party. So they decided later on to the heart right. There's an S. It's a something system.
Spoils?
Good job.
I was going to.
9.
Nine. Alright, what was the slogan for William Henry Harrison's campaign?
We're not.
Tippecanoe and Taylor.
Good job.
Tippecanoe and who?
Tyler two.
Sit
Okay,
out.
Dr. Seuss.
Tippecanoe and who? Doctor Who?
16.
Don't get the wrong one. Tippecanoe and Tyler two.
16.
Dr. Seuss.
Alright, so what party was Harrison from?
What is that with?
It was against Jackson and Martin
Whig.
Van Buren.
Whig.
Whig.
24.
Nope.
Sure you're right?
Where's that?
Alright, who was the first president to die in office?
William Henry Harrison.
William Henry Harrison.
I choose 5.
Alright, who became known as the president without a party because he wasn't really a Whig and he got alienated from his party?
Just start with
He? President?
Tyler.
Yep.
Trump.
No.
23. Yes.
What was it?
23.
There is no 23. Now there's no.
Alright, who was Tyler's Secretary of State? W. That was first one, because there's 2 Websters. Daniel.
Daniel Webster.
32.
Alright, who was the British minister that worked with Daniel Webster with the Aroostook War and the Caroline event?
Ashburton.
Good job, Lord Ashburton.
3.
What a roll.
Alright, doing good. I'm
Come
not
on.
aware of it. Alright, what's the major decade for the Second Great Awakening?
Needs no quiz.
18.
Nice.
50.
Good job, 1850s.
25.
Nope.
It's definitely 34.
Alright,
Pressure for you.
so what section of the country was known for gambling, swearing, whiskey, violence?
West.
The North.
West.
Yeehaw.
West.
I choose 28.
It was the South.
Alright, what is the correct answer, Jimmy? Can you hear y'all?
West.
Did you say 28?
Yes.
Kanye West.
Alright, what was the major denomination for the Second Great Awakening? Because remember, she needs to be able to hear me, not you.
You don't want to write Connie on the quiz.
Methodist is the correct answer.
34.
Alright, who was the leader of the Circuit Riders? We're actually getting really close. I actually do not remember where I said this.
Didn't choose one at all.
You all get candy for his last name starts with an A. I only did that one time. I somehow deleted it.
Anthony.
Anthony?
What's the question?
Anthony?
What was the question?
Alright. Nope. Alright. First person to raise your hand. I said I was only repeating it once. No, you should be paying attention and not talking about whatever nonsense over there.
Starts with an A.
Alright.
Who the hell?
Go. Alright, Chris, you got it. Any question?
Admire.
Nope. Alright, question.
Arthur?
What?
Arthur?
Nope. Anybody else want to guess?
Ashbury.
Nope.
Ashford.
Wait, what was yours?
Ashbury.
That is actually correct.
Oh,
Francis
what?
Ashbury. I forgot what I asked.
What? I'm
Francis
doing 14.
Ashbury, leader of the
Do four.
circuit
Thank
riders.
you. Do four.
No, I'm doing 14.
Alright, who pioneered the Camp Meeting revival?
We can't.
That was yours.
Does it not go back to me?
No.
Isn't that, I thought that was.
What's it start with?
Francis Ashbury was leader of circuit riders.
Oh, circuit.
Let's start with.
His starts with a M, technically.
Big Greedy.
Yep.
McGreedy.
James McGreedy.
He's from
Hey,
Kentucky.
that's a boy.
And he's greedy from
13. Steve, it's out there.
It's four.
Alright.
I'm telling you. it's
Where
four.
was the most
Steve.
notable Camp Meeting revival? Where was that? It was in Kentucky. Where at? Alright, first one, raise your hand. Go.
Start with.
What's our C?
C.
C.
Reckon Smith.
Is it a weird?
I raised my hand.
I saw you. Ooh. No
Well,
wonder.
I
guess
I'll
you
just
said
start- I guess
Arkin's
I'll
name. I
start
was like,
trying.
what's
Is
your
it,
last name?
Cambridge?
I'll take that. Cane Ridge. Cane Ridge.
Oh, let me
Close
go
enough.
four.
It's not 4. Ha!
What if it was?
I just remember. Alright, who is the best known evangelist of the Second Great Awakening? It's Genesis turn.
Oh, so.
Starts with F.
Nope.
Finney.
Good job.
20.
Nope. 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 Nope.
Alright. Alright, who founded the AME, the African Methodist Episcopal Church?
What did it start with?
His last name begins with an A.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Arthur.
Nope. First person raise your hand.
Arthur the third.
First person raise your hand. Go.
Anthony.
Nope.
Augustus.
It's Ethan's turn. You still want to know?
Starts the name.
Starts with an A.
St. Mary.
Nope. Anybody else want it?
St. Mary.
Alright, Richard Allen.
Oh.
Richard Allen. Taking over him.
Who was a circuit rider, dude?
Circuit rider dude, Francis
Yeah,
Ashbury.
surfer.
I thought you were saying Ashburton when you said earlier, so Ashbury.
You just go ahead and take my piece of paper for this quiz.
Are we close?
Yeah, for real.
I'm just finishing this really quick. We're gonna be done. Alright, what was the name of the traveling salesmen that were basically preachers, but they also sold Bibles and tracts? What do we call it?
I
It's hard to say, so I'll let you have it.
No.
So,
Cohort.
colporteurs, like that. Okay.
Cohort.
It's probably gonna be the last time through.
I wanna call
Alright,
them
so,
21.
Ethan's turn. Name one of the people that came out of the Sunday School Union. So you had a lady and you had a man. So that they were there as like the two major leaders of it, the two major people.
What quiz is this?
This will be quiz 20.
What?
Yeah, I did.
Got played like a
Okay,
fool.
Say again.
Name one of the two people
Two people what?
from the Sunday School Union. So one of them helped out, one of them was a lady, she helped with women and children, the other one helped out in the Mississippi Valley
What's it
area.
start with?
The lady starts with an F, the other one starts with P.
Barry. Barry.
Nope.
For free.
Alright, first raise your hand. Go.
The last one started with what?
P, the other one starts with a F.
Oh!
Nope. That's really loud on the camera.
Carrie. Is one of them right?
Nope.
Catherine.
What's your last name?
Can I say the other one?
What?
What's her last name start with?
F.
Oh, Ferguson.
Good job.
What?
Catherine Ferguson and Stephen Paxson.
26.
No, 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 no.
Also, I'm sorry. Also.
Imagine.
Alright.
What quiz is this?
I think it will be 22. Just 21 and 22. I'll put my numbers.
That's your graduate.
It's not a red quiz?
You write it. Alright, who's remembered as the father of American missions?
There are no.
Oh.
What'd you say?
What?
Jason.
Judson?
Admiring.
I'd say 21. I think it's 21. I think it's the only one there.
Who's doing it?
It's Quinn.
Oh,
Quinn.
6.
Oh my goodness.
That's it.
It's
Alright.
It's
Hard.
I know. Alright, who
Is it Michael
was
Flanders?
sent to go get a trade agreement with the emperor and he showed up with his ships?
Perry.
That is Perry. That is Matthew Perry.
Platypus.
It helps you remember.
I was
Alright.
gonna say that like
One piece,
10 turns
well,
ago.
I
no,
don't know
two
why
not
they
close
would
enough to go
say
now.
that
Piece of paper, pen and pencil. Piece of paper, pen and pencil.
One down is gonna be like a number and it's gonna be the first one.
I'm writing this in
That
cursive.
happens.
One day.
I wish I had that book.
This
One
is
piece,
like
piece
so.
of paper, pen and pencil. Like, it's not really a pencil. I forget it. I don't have it.
There's nothing open book quiz.
Woo!
That's close enough, I mean, didn't.
Alright,
You're
my
supposed to
number
give those-
one.
Cause
Hold on.
We gotta go. Alright, number one. Gotta move. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Right. Catch up. What do you call a journey that the Cherokees went on, going from their territory to their new territory? What do we call that journey or that trail? What do we call that? Number two. Who was the president of the National Bank? Who was the president of the National Bank? Number three. Who was Secretary of the Treasury underneath Jackson? Who was the Secretary of the Treasury? Number four, what was the party that was just against Andrew Jackson? What was the name for that party that was just against Andrew Jackson? Number five, write down a term that means right to vote. There's technically two, so either one is fine, but there is a better one that you want. So, what is a term that means right to vote?
Did
You gotta give away?
No, did you say both? Is it a good one?
Alright, number six. What term do we use to describe a party whenever they're very organized and they run very smoothly? What's that term we use to describe them? Right, which president introduced the spoil system to national politics? Which president? Pick a president. Hopefully it's 1 through 9, because we've only talked about 9 presidents so far. We're on the 9th president. Alright. What was the campaign slogan for William Henry Harrison? What was the campaign slogan? Someone's very enthusiastic. Number 9. Who was the first president to die in office? Who was the first president to die in office? And number 10. Who served as Secretary of State underneath Tyler? Who served Secretary of State underneath Tyler? Alright, anyone need anything from
Ten.
Number 10, who served as Secretary of State under Tyler?
3.
No, hold on.
Number 3 was who was the Secretary of the Treasury underneath Jackson?
And what was number 3?
I think it's number 3.
I was also.
Christ. Who was the Secretary of the Treasury underneath Jackson?
Number 10 was,
Who was Secretary of State underneath Tyler?
Let's see, 1, 2.
and then number 4,
Number 4, what party formed up as that was against Andrew Jackson? The original
number 3.
Who was Secretary of the Treasury? Secretary of the Treasury.
Number 2.
Who was the president of the National Bank?
You said our test is Tuesday?
Mm-hmm. We'll finish. There's not that much left. Fine. Alright, anybody still working?
9.
Ethan, do you need more time?
Yeah.
Okay, give me about 30 seconds. You know we're all done?
Number 10, 1 more time.
Number 10, who was Secretary of State underneath Tyler? Great. Alright, you can go ahead and hand it to me as I come back. Going up to your textbooks, we gotta finish talking about the last couple of movements in this section. So we've gone through most of it, talking about the Great Awakening. We did really good to review at the start of the period. discovered Hawaii?
162.
It is 162. Yes, it is. You should know that, Brett. We talked about that in geography as well. So, James Cook. Alright, so James Cook discovered Hawaii. Now, Hawaii was its own country. Now, we associate Hawaii being a state, but Hawaii was its own country for a long time. It was known as the Kingdom of Hawaii. So they had several kings of it, and they decided they wanted to come into the United States. Kind of how like Puerto Rico votes every so often, about every 10 years, they decided they want to come into the United States. As of right now, Puerto Rico says no, but it's just one of those, okay, eventually they may want you for it. Alright, Hawaii names are always fun. So, the King Chief,
Kamehameha.
yeah, Kamehameha, he was the first one though. He united all but the two main islands underneath his rule. His son, Liho becomes the second king. Liho. He becomes the second king.
Where's
And he takes the title Kamehameha as the second. So we're on page 162. So again, Hawaiian names are different, so it is fun to say. So Kamehameha, that's kind of like their title. So it's like Kamehameha the first, then there's Kamehameha the second. But it was the son, okay, make sure, pay attention, that Liho, that he was the son that becomes the next king. But they were still involved in pagan practices. They were not saved, they were doing ungodly things on the island. So again, and that's why missionaries are coming over to help them out for it. So in 1820, that's a date you need to know. So this is whenever the first missionaries came over to Hawaii. So make a note for that. So 1820, that's the date for the first missionaries coming over to Hawaii. Now the king, Kamehameha II, that he said, okay, you can teach us this new religion, but I want you to teach me in my court first before you teach it to my people. Why do you think the king wanted to learn it first? Right?
So, he would understand if it was good for his people or not.
No, and that actually works out well because what happens if a king typically gets saved?
Then everyone else gets converted.
Okay, well it's one of those that, okay, yes, this is more favorable for his religion. He'll say, oh, this is a good religion, yes, we want this taught on my island. So it helps spread out. If the king doesn't get saved or if the king doesn't like religion, typically makes life for the missionary a lot harder. So again, doesn't mean everyone's going to instantly get saved, but since the king's like, hey, this is a good one, you'll need to learn about this, then it's a lot of cases it's easier for the missionary to witness to them. Alright, good question?
Or they get or not.
Sometimes yes. They don't, now typically if you have someone that's saved, because they understand the idea of you have to choose to be a Christian, it's a heart issue, not a work thing. A lot of cases, not all the time again, but a lot of cases they're more of, okay, I want you to choose to get saved so that way you go to heaven. If you lie to me and say you're saved whenever you're not, okay, you lied to me, but you'll still go to hell because you didn't actually get saved. So that's the reason why Christians don't do stuff like that a lot. Occasionally, yes, that happens in history. Alright, so the missionaries, they were able to witness him to the king first and to his court before they were able to witness him to the rest of the people. So again, which is good, just helping out with the country. They also developed the Hawaiian language and put the language into written form because they wanted to help out the Hawaiian people. They also wanted to translate the Bible into the Hawaiian language. Why did they want to translate the Bible really quick?
So that they could read it.
Because they also knew
They have their own language?
what?
They have their own language? What is it called?
Probably just Hawaiian. Yes, I mean I didn't look to see if there's like a specific name for it, but I would assume it's this little kingdom of Hawaii. I'm assuming Hawaiian. I'm assuming. Alright, so this has gotta move on from food. Alright, so your book's just pointing out that this one was a great student for because again they understood if you can read the Bible in your own language, then you'll be able to read God's words, so the Holy Spirit can speak to you and convert you of your own sin as well. So you're like, okay, even if we don't have a lot of time with them and we can get the Bible to them, they can still get saved for it. So Hawaiian culture began to change as multitudes of people become saved because again the Hawaiian people responded very well to it. Alright, King Kamehameha II, his successor was the queen. Alright, her name's hard for me. So, Kahu Manu. That she was the queen. You may try it. Go.
That's what I was gonna say.
So.
Kehaumanu.
Yeah, it is a hard one. Even secular people, whenever I look up how to say that, they disagree on how to pronounce it just because it is a distinctly different Hawaiian name.
It was a girl.
So, it is a girl. It is a queen. So, she did much to encourage Christianity on her island because she said, okay, no, this is a good religion. It helps out with my people. It helps promote good living besides being saved and going to heaven. It helps out to where for people they don't steal, they don't kill each other, to where it just helps out with my country in general. Now, as they became more and more understanding of biblical principles, they started developing more and more freedom for themselves as well. Underneath Kamehameha III, this is whenever the Hawaiians, they wrote their first constitution, and part of their constitution said, no law shall be enacted which is at variance or against with the word of the Lord Jehovah. So they were making it part of their constitution saying, hey, we're not going to make laws against the Bible. We want to make sure that we're following the Bible as we go forward as a nation.
They worship Jehovah?
like Jehovah is a Bible word for God, so it isn't the same idea as like Jehovah's Witness. So again, they take it a little bit differently, but yeah, it's the idea of like Jehovah in the Bible just means God. Alright, so your first pointing out that the Kingdom of Hawaii became a constitutional monarchy and a representative form of government. So it became so much so that within 50 years, the missionaries felt like, okay, this isn't really a mission field anymore. This feels like this is a good Christian nation. Everyone is either a Christian or they're at least exposed to it to where they can choose to accept Christianity. Okay, we're going to kind of check it off and we're going to move on into a new section. Just because you guys are exposed to it enough now, we're going to go witness to other people and we're going to move on into other countries. Now, they're given a privilege here to where you can witness to your own people. In fact, Hawaii was sending out her own missionaries as well. So again, Hawaii was what was a Christian nation for a long time. Now again, today, because of the culture of America in general, Hawaii may or may not still be considered a Christian nation. But it's the idea of, okay, that they became so converted that they were sending out their own missionaries. Now, they did come into as a state later on, not quite yet in this time period, they come later, but they were still their own kingdom at this point. Okay.
Well, we're not considered a nation at all anymore.
Yeah, true.
You said-
I know, I said it. After I said it, I was like, I know it, but I figured you would
I'm just kidding.
understand. Alright, anyone have any questions before we move on to what social reforms? Alright, the temperance movement. So the temperance is against what, Quentin?
Alcohol.
Yep, so the temperance movement, this is against the use of liquor. So this is whenever a lot of preachers were preaching against it, but then also people realizing, liquor is not the best substance to put in your body either, because it makes you aggressive in a lot of cases, makes you moody, makes you make poor life decisions, makes you do bad things. Today, if you're driving a car drunk, you're getting major trouble for that because you can kill people. But they're saying, okay, in this time period, this isn't a good idea. So the American Temperance Union was founded against the sale of liquor, just getting people informed this is a dangerous drink, you shouldn't be drinking it. Maine was the first state to outlaw the use of liquor except for medical purposes. Keep in mind, did they have strong painkiller in this time period?
No.
Not really. So if you had to have surgery or have to have a surgical operation done on you, they would typically give you alcohol or wine to make you basically drunk, so that way you would not feel it, because no one wants to be awake for that portion for it. Okay.
You'd still feel it.
It's weaker though. That means either you either go through it awake, or here, drink this and kind of get at least make you like a dreamy one. I guess it'd be the same thing, depending what it is. It's one of those, do you want the kid to be awake and screaming, or do you want the kid to be like semi-unconscious?
I'd rather the kid be awake.
Oh, I don't know about my kid to be awake while I'm
You'd rather
doing
the kid drink alcohol and get drunk instead of.
depending on what it was, we're talking surgeries here. Like during the Civil War, you gotta cut your arm off. Drink alcohol because you gotta cut it off. I gotta go through your whole.
Force them on the wound.
Yeah, but they want to get you kind of passed out from. But I mean, just because they didn't have medicine to knock you out and then make you unconscious, that was it. That was like their strong painkiller to kind of. I mean, now you got a concussion. Now you got another problem on top of it. So I mean, it's one of those. Okay, so okay, that was like the idea of okay, you can only use it for medical purposes just because we don't have better pain reliever. This is it for it. Alright, your book also points out that Hawaii also outlawed the use of liquor just because they're realizing, this isn't a good item either. We don't need this either in our nation as well. Alright, the abolition movement. Alright, so abolition means what?
Abolition means like anti-slavery, but also, did they have like marijuana back then? Did they use that?
You did have opium in England in the 1900s. We're not quite to that time period yet. I mean, the plant is around.
But they didn't know like the medical benefits of it?
Not a lot yet. Okay, and besides, the medical benefits of marijuana is highly debatable over how much of it is like actual good.
Well, it's kind of like a.
Okay, can't get into it all the way, but yeah, so it's one of those. A lot of people say it's for medical purposes.
How do you know?
Whatever, it's sometimes they're going a bit far with it. Alright, do you have a quick question? Okay, is it about this?
No.
So I gotta go. Okay, wait. Alright, so abolition. So if you're an abolitionist, what are you against?
Abolition.
Okay, what's up? You're against abolition if you're an abolitionist?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
No. Alright, what is abolition?
It says it next to the word in the book.
It does.
It does?
Right.
It's on page 164. That's what the page.
Anti-slavery.
Good job. So
Yeah,
if
the
you
right
are an
page.
abolitionist, you are not against slavery is what you said. Because the idea of abolition means you're against slavery. So an abolitionist is someone that is against slavery. Alright, the question was brought up a couple of days ago, and it is important over whether or not the Bible endorses slavery. Alright, so thinking it through, where does the Bible talk about how everyone is descendant of Adam and Eve?
In the
In
beginning.
In Genesis. Now, because I went and I looked at verses to make sure so I can talk about this. Alright, so in Genesis, oh, as a side note, does anyone want to go get their own Bibles? Oh, we can go
Me.
quickly. Go to your Bible fast. Anyone else? Speed. You don't have to.
I'm the only one who cares.
It's okay.
I'll just listen.
That's fine.
I had ears for a reason.
That is true.
Only
Alright,
one more.
Genesis 1, I'm just saying, Genesis is not your name. Alright, so 1:27, it says for that one, so I just wanted, so you can understand. I was freezing. Alright, and God said, that is not the right verse.
God said let there be light.
I thought you called my name in the hallway. I
I'm
actually
sorry.
turned back around.
I'm very sorry. Yeah, as soon as I said it, I was like, whoa, that's not it. Alright. Alright, so in Genesis 1:27, still not you, I'm sorry. So God created man in his own image, in the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that creepeth upon the earth. So does it act like that God's saying that there's different categories or different types of people in that verse when he's talking to Adam and Eve? Reckon.
Yes.
Really?
No. They're saying everybody's the same.
Yeah,
They
that's
all
the
came from
idea.
the same people.
So Adam and Eve, and then it's all Adam and Eve's children. So they're all descendant of one person or one people. Root for it. All right, Genesis. Look up Exodus 21:16.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
It sounds to me like he's saying.
Where's my brothers?
Good job.
It also sounds to me like he's saying.
A long
No
number.
matter the skin color, everyone is created in the image of God. It doesn't
21
matter
who?
what the outside is. If the inside is
And that's what he's saying. Is that okay? That is the idea. We're all humans. Doesn't matter of hair color, eye color, skin color, where you live, how much money you make. You're all human beings. All right, 21:16.
16?
16.
You lied.
Dude, I heard 17.
And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, where he be found in his hand, he shall he shall surely be put to death.
So that's what it's talking about with part of the Old Testament law saying that if you steal a person or kidnap a person and then sell them, you die as a slave trader. And so that was part of the Old Testament laws of you do not do that in the Old Testament. Now, in Old Testament and New Testament times, they would have the idea of, okay, you would sell yourself like an indentured servant to pay off debt. But that was only supposed to be for 6 years. In the 7th year, it talks about how you go free at that point. Your debt is paid. So it's not like you're a slave forever and ever and ever. It's the idea of it's only just a temporary thing, like an indentured servant. Alright, last verse, Genesis, going up to 1 Timothy 1:8-10.
Some of people have maids.
Yeah, because it's the idea of it's a job.
1 Timothy 2.
1:8-10.
But we know that the law is good if man use it lawfully, knowing this that the law was not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for the sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers, for what?
Whoremongers?
Oh, like what?
That's
Sorry. For them that defile themselves with mankind, for men stealers, for liars, for perjured persons. If there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine.
So what that passage is basically saying, okay, the law is basically saying, okay, here is the law, so you can tell good people from bad people, and basically it lists a whole bunch of, here's a bunch of sins that you're not supposed to do, and one of those is manstealers, or the idea of kidnapping someone and selling them. So that's the idea of it. So again, even though the Bible talks about like a bondservant or like a slave and how to treat them, that's because it's more like an indentured servitude. It's not the idea of buying someone and selling someone on skin color. So that's the reason why you people talk about it. But again, just so that way you know, as an educated young adult, so that way you know, okay, what's the Bible really saying? Alright, so abolitionists, these are people that are against slavery. So they're trying to witness to other people and say, hey, I know we have this, but we shouldn't have this institution. We need to try to get rid of this as soon as possible. Alright, Christian Compassion, so several things were also founded to help out people. Dorothy Dix, make a note for her, because she promoted the more humane treatment of the mentally ill. If you were considered insane in this time period, bad things happened to you. So she went to the mentally insane hospitals and realized, y'all are being mean to these people. We don't need to do this. They're sick and they need help, so we don't need to be doing this to them. Alright, Phoebe Palmer, she founded the first settlement house in New York. It was called the 5 Points Mission, kind of like the Feed the Valley Rescue Mission here in Columbus, Georgia. So it's kind of like the same idea of, okay, it's to help out with the poor and then also give them the gospel. Alright, YMCA was also founded. Now the song comes later. The song was written much later, so it's not the same. But it was the idea of this was also to help out with the poor and to have the opportunity to share to the young men. So it's the Young Men's Christian Association. So this one was established in London, England, and it was to evangelize and assist young men. The Young Women's Christian Association comes a little bit later on, but it was just to help out with young gentlemen in particular, and to help them that if they needed help, and to also get the gospel to them. Alright, ladies that were also helping out, I'm trying to get the women the right to vote, because since women were not working in the workplace quite yet, so they're saying, okay, we want to be able to vote. One of the major reasons was because a lot of women were involved in the temperance movement. Alright, now, thinking this through would be inappropriate, why do you think a lady would want to vote against the sale of liquor?
Because her husband would drink it and abuse her.
Yeah, that was a lot of cases, because she would see a lot of cases, the domestic abuse at home, and also come a lot of the ladies in this time period would say, no, I want the right to vote. I want to make alcohol illegal. I see what it does to me, what it does to my children, I see what it does to my husband. No, I want the right to vote. And that's why come a lot of them were involved for this idea, in particular with the idea of the temperance movement. So, 3 ladies to note for them. So, Elizabeth Stanton, Lucretia Mott, Susan B. Anthony. So make a note for them that they wanted to give women, or they campaigned for the women to have the right to vote. So women's suffrage. So make a note for those 3 ladies. Alright, and then last one of the last women your book talks about is Isabel Baumfree. She was a former slave from New York. She lectured against slavery, but she didn't want her name to be known with it, so that way because sometimes people, they would judge someone again like this, so she wrote underneath a pen name. Kind of how, like, the Federalist Papers were written, so her pen name was Sojourner Truth. Alright, I know I'm moving quick, because we only got 5 minutes left. Alright, anyone have any questions about these? Alright, false philosophies and religion. So, since we're having great revival in the United States, there's also going to be false doctrines that just always come up against Christianity. There's 2 major ones in this time period. So, Unitarianism, this denies the deity of Christ, the Trinity, and many other important doctrines. So that's Unitarianism. And your book points out there are several others that deny the Trinity, added scripture, were taught on works-based salvation. Some of these you don't have to know them specifically, but it's Jehovah's Witnesses, the Christian Science, Church of Jesus Christ, Latter-day Saints, Mormonism. So all of those are examples of where they have partly biblical ideas, then they also have works-based with it as well. Alright, you have a fast question.
I thought it was Latter-day.
Sorry, did I say later? There's 2 keys, so yeah, Latter-day, sorry. Alright, so again, just make note that Unitarianism, just deny the deity of Christ, the Trinity, and many other important Bible doctrines. Make note that's the first major philosophy. The second one is Transcendentalism. This one focuses on the idea of man is basically good, and it's linked to nature and is divine. So it's the idea of you commune with nature, or if you're out in nature, it'll help you be more godly, is kind of the idea behind it. So make a note for that one. So Ralph Waldo Emerson, he created his philosophy on Transcendentalism. Then he taught that nature was divine and that man's spirit was linked with nature and therefore also divine. Now he taught you need to go out and spend time with nature, and that'll help you to basically be closer to God, or to be God. So again, kind of weird. Now, there's nothing wrong with nature, but he was going a bit too far with it. Alright, Henry David Thoreau, he lived near Walden Pond, near Concord, Massachusetts. He wrote his book Walden. Walt Whitman, he wrote a collection of poems entitled Leaves of Grass. His poems in this period, some of them are pretty, some of them are real stupid. But he wrote Leaves of Grass. Now, not all of his poems are stupid. He wrote 2 of them. Later on, we'll talk about his with the Civil War, because his poems in that time period are really pretty. But, again, talking about it with Transcendentalism, they weren't that good. Alright, Robert Greene Ingleson, he was one of the people that was outspoken or taught Darwinism, because Darwinism is starting in England. So Darwinism is a type of what? Anyone remember?
False religion.
Evolution.
Evolution, specifically. So again, Darwinism is what it's called in this time period. It's being taught in England, but it's not made it to the United States yet. So he's starting to introduce it to it. Also, secular humanism was also spreading. So this is the worship of man, while declaring that America needs to abolish religion, especially Christianity, because he saw that Christianity was against evolution. So he said, we need to get rid of Christianity so evolution can be accepted. Alright, jumping experiments. Alright, what is a utopian society? Anybody know?
Society without worries or anything.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a perfect society. Alright, can we have a perfect society here on Earth?
No.
No, because you're made up of people and people are sinful, so it's automatically doomed already. So, there's a couple of them you need to note for it. More people try this idea of having like a perfect communal society. Keep in mind, Jamestown already tried this kind of idea. Did it work in Jamestown? No. So, it doesn't work in this time period either. So, Transcendentalists, they tried it at Brook Farm, didn't work. Nathaniel Hawthorne, you might remember him from literature class that
We're
he
reading a
wrote.
book about him.
That's it, because he wrote books. He tried it and he wrote a book basically making fun of it because he said this was the dumbest thing, it didn't work, it's horrible. And so, but he wrote a book basically saying cynically and making fun of it at that point. What? No. Alright, so Robert Owen, he founded a utopian society in Indiana called New Harmony. And he tried to make it work as well, but basically his people ended up rebelling because he got too authoritarian over it, trying to make them do stuff, and they said, no, never mind, we quit, we're going home. Alright, so that is it for that section, so I made it through everything. So those are just the last couple of things you need to know for, so just the bold terms as we're getting ready for your test. Alright, you got your center pad. Alright, oh, I have to look at my, I remember which concept reviews I need to do. For your possible essays.
What is this?
Essays for your test.
What
Alright.
else?
Test on Tuesday. Alright, you ready? It's page 167, concept review number 3. 167, concept review number 3. On page 156, concept review number 3 and 6. So on page 156 is concept review number 3 and 6. On page 157, it's concept review number 5. So there's 4 different concept reviews in that you're doing, so I'll do the whole thing again. So page 167, concept review number 3. On page 156, it's not concept review, concept to consider. Concept to consider, number 3 and 6. And on page 157, concept to consider, number 5. Forget chemistry, they call it concepts to review in here, it's concept to consider. Alright, anyone need the list one more time?
Number 5 for the last one.
Yep, 157.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you say in chemistry that I got my preview back?
Yes, because I
Where
don't
was
want
it?
you to get numeric and teacher review at the same time.
Where was it?
Oh, I'm sorry, the last one is 167, not 157. I knew something felt wrong with it. 167. It's this chapter's concept. So it's chapter 12.
Where was it?
167, or 57, no, I have to. 167, concept to consider 5.
Okay,
I'll tell you, I'll study all again.
Okay.
I'll tell you study all again.
Where was it, Chris?
What? It was Scott gave it to me. Yeah. Or he found it in the email.
Alright, okay, you want this purple?
See you next hour.
Okay, now.